And now we come to another instance of the history of dinosaur films brushing up against the important parts of the history of film itself. Last time it was with Gertie the Dinosaur being a pivotal dinosaur picture and a pioneering work of animation. And this time we're going to be looking at D.W Griffith, one of the most important figures in early cinema and also, to be honest, a huge, appalling racist. Okay, so no honest examination of Griffith can really be done without acknowledging the elephant in the room. But firstly, let's talk about why he is considered so influential. You see, Griffith's experimentations with editing helped craft the inherent grammar of cinema. When we talk about film grammar, we talk about how images and shots are used in a sequence to create meaning. It is one of the fundamental aspects of cinematic language. Edwin S. Porter had already experimented with a technique called cross-cutting in his early narrative films, Life of an American Fireman and The Great Train Robbery. Cross-cutting is simply where a film cuts between two or more separate events which are then understood by the viewer to be happening at the same time, such as this sequence from Life of an American Fireman, where you witness the rescue from both the inside of the house, which is then followed by the same event from the outside. Now, D.W. Griffith comes along and pushes that concept of cross-cutting to a new standard, showing sequences of parallel action across different places and playing with the tempo of the cuts to create tension. You'll be familiar with such techniques if you've ever seen any modern action blockbuster. Griffith also used new editing techniques and shot choices such as cut-ins to close-ups to show the emotion of characters and insert shots to direct the audience's attention to certain elements, and used multiple camera setups within a single scene to establish continuity editing, where a consistent narrative is established in space and time across multiple shots. Or at least maybe Griffith established these techniques. Griffith was a very talented self-promoter, and a lot of the early history of cinema is lost. So to declare that he was the sole inventor of these techniques is, well, it's very much debatable. But there's no doubt he was a highly influential figure, and the techniques on display in his films were expanded further with Sergei Eisenstein's montage theory, and have become the standard. All your favourite films utilise these techniques. Like if your favourite film is, I don't know, Harry and the Hendersons, all these cinematic techniques are present in that film.
Oh, come on, man. It's all in how you look at it.
But let's get to that elephant. Griffith's most famous and influential work is The Birth of a Nation, a film that portrays the Ku Klux Klan as the heroes and portrays black characters who are played by white people in blackface as sexually aggressive villains. It inspired a resurgence of the real KKK and was massively controversial even for its time. The film is cited as the first blockbuster action spectacle, which it may well be, and has all of Griffith's techniques on display, but it's a disgusting and racist film, and it's good that Griffith's many achievements are overshadowed by it. His legacy deserves to be stained by it. But we're not here to talk about that, I just thought it was worth mentioning. We're here to talk about Brute Force, also known as The Primitive Man, and although it's not the first live action film to feature dinosaurs as is so often claimed, check out my video on Prehistoric Peeps, it does indeed feature dinosaurs, including a rather impressive one. The story follows caveman Weak Hands, who unsurprisingly with a name like that, is not physically strong and so has trouble finding a girl. That's until he meets a lady called, typical of Griffith, Lily White, and they elope. However, a larger and stronger caveman named Brute Force attacks them and steals Lily White away, with Weak Hands helpless to stop him. Weak Hands is at first despondent, as one would be, but soon comes up with an idea. He builds a club and then with it faces Brute Force again and seemingly beats him to death. Many years on, Weak Hands and Lily White lead their own tribe thanks to their superior technology, and all seems well. They try to find a moment alone but are disturbed by a giant snake and a small dinosaur. It's a dangerous world out there, and Weak Hands and some of his tribe are startled at one point by a huge dinosaur that towers over them. But even worse, a rival tribe from down the mountain is getting ready to attack. The first battle goes poorly for the lower tribe, with Weak Hands' tribe beating them back with their clubs, but when the lower tribe discovers how to make their own clubs, they invade again, kidnapping the women of Weak Hands' tribe and killing the children. Weak Hands and the other men of his tribe are helpless once more now that the rival tribe have equal weapons, but when Weak Hands discovers how to build a bow and arrow, his tribe is once more in a position of technological advantage. The lower tribe is defeated and the women rescued. So over the course of the half-hour runtime of Brute Force, there's a quite functional 3-act story. Act 1 focuses on Weak Hands facing down brute force of his club, the second act revolving around the general challenges of surviving in prehistory, and ending with Weak Hands' tribe being defeated, with a final act depicting Weak Hands' creation of the bow and arrow and the final victory over his enemies. The central idea is clear. Humanity ascended via their ability to create new technologies, and the victors in any scenario will always be the ones with the superior weapons, intelligence over brawn. The story seems to be meant to be inspirational in that regard, but to me displays a fairly bleak view of humanity that seems attuned with Griffith's poisonous and racist worldview, where humanity is split into the good tribe who are intelligent and pure, and the evil tribe who are inherently vile and sexually aggressive, and that one tribe dominating the other is moral and good. It's not explicit in its racist attitudes like Birth of a Nation, but the same philosophy underlines it. Look, maybe I'm being unfair, and I'm taking Griffith's other work too readily into account while analysing this one. But also, he did make Birth of a Nation, so I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt on the grounds of him being a bit of a prick. The visual storytelling is fairly adept, as is unsurprising considering Griffith's reputation, with a clear understanding of creating the geography between the two tribes and juxtaposing their different environments with each other, with the performances and imagery communicating the drama with clarity. Well, that's all well and good. Let's get to the dinosaurs. Well, firstly, there's a giant snake betrayed by an actual large snake. That's not a dinosaur, obviously, but something seems to have been placed on its head to make it look more like a dinosaur, perhaps. It doesn't quite work. Then there is an alligator with what appears to be fins and a horn stuck to it. Both these are part of a troubling legacy in dinosaur films, which is that of animal cruelty. This won't be the last time on this list that we see real animals emblazoned with fake appendages, with little care taken for their well-being. It never works as an effect, and even if it did, it remains pointlessly cruel. What does work is this dinosaur. It appears to be a full-size puppet and it's absolutely incredible. Firstly, you need to put it in context. This was the first detailed dinosaur puppet, a giant leap forward from Prehistoric Peeps' pantomime creations. It is also full-size, towering above the actors and creating a genuine sense of scale and awe. It's not named in the film, but I've read that it's supposed to be a Ceratosaurus, perhaps due to its distinctive horn. Ceratosaurus was first discovered in 1884, so that does line up. The puppet appears to be on a seesaw support which creates a rocking back and forth motion. Other aspects of articulation are in the tail, which moves side to side, and the mouth with its tongue flopping out. It's fairly effective for its time, a great effect considering how short the sequence is. So, Wikipedia informs me that Brute Force is a sequel to an earlier Griffith film called Man's Genesis from 1912. However, from watching Man's Genesis, it seems it's just the first act of Brute Force, pretty much the exact footage with a different framing device. It seems as a sequel, Brute Force used Man's Genesis as its first act, with acts 2 and 3 acting as a sequel. Or at least that's what it seems happened. It's hard to say. There's not actually a lot of information about these films available, so if you know different, let me know in the comments. Or just let me know how your day is going. Right, Griffith will be returning in this list but in a reduced role, but next week we're moving on to the early work of one Willis O'Brien, possibly the most influential figure in dinosaur cinema ever. See you then.